Hey, so what are the main components that you will find inside of a server rack, inside of a comms cabinet, inside of a data center, inside of a home lab? The bits are slightly different. I love my home lab, and I've got a whole bunch of gear inside of here. And then you compare that to, hey, what would I find in a data center? What are the components of inside the racks, right? You've got the server rack where there's a whole bunch of equipment, all the different pieces. What do they actually do? What is their purpose? And of course, we're going to be contrasting here a data center to what you may actually find inside of a home lab, because they're actually not going to be that different. A home lab is like a scaled back, minimal version of what you'll find in a server room, inside of a business, inside of a data center. My name is Emilio. I love tech. I have this YouTube channel all about tech, and if you want to follow along, click on that subscription button. A lot of you follow, which is great, and a lot of you watch, but a lot of you, I'm going to say most of you, are actually not subscribed, unfortunately. If you subscribe, it does let me know that you are interested in watching my content. And also, hey, I've got a whole length of training courses available on the Udemy platform. Go and check some of those out. That will definitely be helpful to you as well. All right, we're now going to jump into a data center that I visited recently, and we'll go through each of the individual parts. So we've got a walkway of a data center that I visited right over here. These are all the different server racks, cabinets, comms cabinets from different companies, my company, other companies, and this is where they have all the equipment stored. And you'll see that on the top, there's trays where all of the cabling is run. These are cables that come up from the bottom, from the top of these racks. Each of them slightly different. These ones are a little bit older, and you'll see that they have got, like, you can't really see what's inside unless you look through those little holes there. But some of them are completely perspex. Some have got great ventilation, others do not. And often they are either accessible by a key, by a fingerprint, via a key card. Really depends on the actual rack itself. Now, because this is for a company, for a list of different companies, lots of companies store their equipment here, so they're going to be different setups. Then, of course, to each single cabinet, you've got Ethernet cables, you've got power cables that need to run into them. Those will be running to potentially massive generators, massive UPSs, solar panels on the roof to actually give you power. And then Ethernet coming in and out, fiber coming in and out, power coming in and out as needed. In this scenario, the cables are all pretty much bunched up and go straight up. Others will be funneled through, will be cable tied, will be clean, will not be accessible from other vendors. So here we got a standard comms cabinet, or a server cabinet, or a rack. It goes by many names. In a lot of places, the doors themselves can be removed, so you can literally just unscrew this and you can remove the entire door, because sometimes it may not be possible to get access to certain things. Inside of the cabinet, you've got rails on the left and on the right, where you can then go and mount equipment. They're generally grouped into what's called a rack unit. Generally, it's going to be 3, which makes up one RU or one rack unit. And a device that is going to be purchased will be either a 1RU, a 2RU, or 3RU, wherever it may be. And then you put this accordingly to the left and to the right, and you slide that particular device in. You screw it in, or you can get a little clip, a nut and bolt sort of setup, or some devices to just clip into place inside of these particular holes. In a lot of cabinets, the rails themselves are adjustable. Move them forward and back, really depending on the depth that you require for your particular cabinet. This particular cabinet doesn't have any fans up the very top. It's just got some ventilation and to allow for my airflow to go up. There are other cabinets where you're going to have different exhaust fans. You may have fans on the top, fans on the left, fans on the right. They all really come in different shapes and sizes, really depending on the need and on the requirement. So here we got all of our cables that are running in. They're all going to, generally terminate in one or multiple locations, and then they're going to be fed through to what's called essentially patch panels. So you've got all the cables running from the top down. They're all nicely cabled through here, and they're put into these patch panels right here. The front of the cabinet, you can see that at the very top, you've got all the cables, and then they're running into these patch panels. Blue for my data, for my computers, or for data traffic, and yellow for my VoIP or for my phone traffic. Each of these particular ports are labeled so that I know exactly around the office, if I have a wall point on my desk or in a meeting room, it should match up to this. These are labeled so that I know what switch they are running into. So each of these labeled cables are going to be running into a subsequent switch. And here I've got my switches. These are Cisco switches. There are multiple switches, and each switch is going to be having a cable fed into it from the subsequent patch panel or directly from a piece of infrastructure such as a server or a storage device or a firewall, whatever it may be. You'll see that what we had before was color coordinated, blue for data and yellow for phone. So this particular switch up here is running my cables from my computers, from my phones, is down the bottom on my yellow right here. So here we've got the back of a switch. You'll see that there are two power supplies. The switch itself is set up with these proprietary cables that are stacked together to, in this case, to a switch above and a switch below. There's also some Ethernet ports on here for further connectivity and for console access and configuration of that particular switch. Now this is just really a cover that's on the front of my server, which is going to be removed. The cover itself is lockable as well. And then the cover, essentially right here, is just really to make it look pretty and to have a little badging on there so that you know that it's a Dell. Literally goes into the groove and clicks into place. Again, this is customed to Dell EMC. Other server brands and vendors will have different sorts of plates. Some may not have any at all. If you're custom building a server, you may not even have any sort of badging at all. This is attached to the rack itself and clipped into place. And then I can slide the server in or out. I can then push it. It clicks into place, and now the server is stuck in there and is no longer movable. The front of the unit is pretty bare. There's really not much going on. And that's because this particular server is acting as a VMware ESXi host, running what's called a hypervisor, and has the processing power inside to manage multiple virtual machines. It's running virtual server infrastructure, multiple servers running on this one box. Inside of the server, there is two SD cards, which are run in what's called a RAID, essentially for redundancy, and that is what's running the operating system, which is ESXi, VMware ESXi, and that's it. So this really does not need anything else other than what we've got configured. On this server, you'll see that we've got a couple of power supplies. So we've got the top server right here with two different power supplies. The reason that we have two is for redundancy and for failover, because we obviously don't want one power supply to die or this cable to be unplugged or the other end of this cable to have a problem where then your whole server goes down, because then you've got an outage. So you always get the server with two. You want to run one power out of this to one particular rail of power, and then this one into a different rail of power. You don't want them both running into the same power board, your same PDU distribution unit, or your same UPS, and then you lose that one unit. You actually will lose both. So it's always good practice to have one into one into the other. So these are our Ethernet cables. These are doing various functions, and you'll see that we've got a number of cables up here, a cable here, and we've also got a cable here on the left, which is my yellow cable. This cable on the left is a management cable. This is a Dell server, so this is called a iDRAC. Essentially, it's a management cable where I can remotely connect to the server itself and see what the server would see, the same as if I plugged a screen straight into it and accessed it via my keyboard and mouse. And obviously there are more than just one network cable for multiple reasons. That could be for redundancy, or the server is providing multiple services. So you see that I've got one network card here and one network card here. I'm not going to run all my cables just on one network card or just one network card, because then if I lose the network card, then I lose that particular connectivity to the server. And then a couple of empty ports where I can plug in what's called SFP modules, where I can run fiber into this, or Ethernet, or another sort of peripheral. And essentially these cables, you just put a module inside and it provides multiple levels of connectivity depending on what your requirement is. Given that this is a 1 RU unit, I am limited in space, so I can buy less things for here. If I had a 2 RU server, I can obviously put more things inside of it. Here we got an example of a NAS. This is a Synology NAS. Essentially, it's a device for storing data. This is a NAS, not a SAN. I do have another video if you are interested on the differences between a NAS and a SAN. They are different and they provide different services, but really like a server, this is just racked into the side. It's a 1RU. This can be expanded so you can have multiple disk trays, storage arrays that can be added on top of this to expand the storage on this particular unit. Here we've got a SAN. This is a Dell EMC Unity SAN. This is essentially a device that contains lots of disks and provides a service generally to virtual servers, to perhaps a file server repository, whatever it may be. This can be expanded, right? So generally a SAN will be expandable depending on what vendor, what make, what model you're getting. This particular one can be expanded. Essentially you just buy disk arrays onto the bottom, which are just connected to the back of the SAN itself, and then you can just expand the storage. Within the SAN, you go and configure the storage groups, the storage pools, the LUNs, whatever you may need to do. You can configure this as a SAN or a NAS, but this is acting as a SAN and is being used for our VMware. So our virtual servers and all of their relevant data. So on the front is really just a plate, just a cover, but I can just easily remove it. And now you can see essentially what's inside. A whole bunch of 2.5-inch discs. These are 1.8 terabytes each, 10K speeds, and that's all the ones that I've got in here, as well as a whole heap of empty slots, and I can easily remove these and add new discs as needed. Once this is full, I then go get another tray, expand it, and then go from there. If you do want more information, I do have a number of videos on SAN and NAS, really going into the details and the uses for each of them. This is the back of our SAN. Slots here on the left where I can insert and remove different peripherals quite easily. I can expand it and add additional connectivity as I need it. I've got my Ethernet ports, these particular ports and these particular ports to the right here, providing different functionality. So these ports being for my management, so I can remotely log in to the SAN and control that SAN. Most SANs, it really depends on the vendor though, and the model will come with two what's called SPs or storage processors. This would be the first one, this would be the second one, and that is because a SAN is generally configured and built with redundancy in mind. It is also for load balancing, but also for failover. In the event that one goes down, the other one can still do its thing. So each storage processor has its own corresponding management port running into it, with activity running into a particular switch. And then I've also got my ports in here, which are 10 gigabit Ethernet ports on both storage processors for actually my data transfer. So this SAN is set up in what's called an iSCSI connection. So I've also got a fiber channel port in there, so I can run that in fiber channel as I need to, and a number of additional ports depending on what my configuration needs to be. You've got dual powers. You've got a power on the right storage processor right here on one of them, and then power on the other storage processor, so that you've always got redundancy from a power perspective also. So I've also got some firewalls which are controlling all of my traffic. These are Fortinet firewalls. There are other brands of firewalls such as Cisco, Juniper, Palo Alto. It really depends. We build these in twos, so two firewalls. This is a rack mounted UPS. This is something that you would be using in a server room. The whole point of the UPS is really just to keep the power on to your devices, essentially your servers, your switches, your routers, and provide a backup source in case the mains power goes out. Your UPS takes over, and then all your devices will stay online. The mains power running into here, providing power into your UPS, and then you've got the output right here, which is running into the PDU, and then in turn the PDU has all of the devices running into it. Here we got a rack PDU. This is a APC rack PDU. You'll see that I've got these nicely color coordinated. So you've got all your switches, your firewalls, your servers, etc., running one into the red, one into the blue, left and right power for redundancy, and then of course that PDU being powered, providing the power through the UPS, which is then in turn connected to the mains power. So in the event that the mains power goes out, this will stay powered on, because then it will take on the battery from the UPS itself. So now that you know all the parts of what's inside of a data center, inside of a server rack, some of this stuff is going to be very, very enterprisey. Some of the stuff you don't need, because in a Homelab you can scale down significantly. But hopefully you've now got a little bit of a better understanding about what is what. Hey, check out some of my other videos where we go into a lot more detail around different parts of a Homelab, other tech as well. Subscribe, click on the button on the bell, check out my training courses as well, as I said, and we'll see you on the next video.